Both commit crimes. One was selling drugs and the other killed a cop. Or shot at a cop.
They've been
aren't those crimes?
They've been accused of crimes.
Thank you.
Feel they did not receive a fair trial and did not receive a fair conviction.
They cannot claim to be political.
And going back to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo guarantees to us Mexican Americans, Chicano-Mexicanos, the right to cultural sovereignty. That does not mean full sovereignty, full independence. But it gives us the legal right under that treaty and under Article 27, the United Nations Covenant of the recognized civil and political rights of recognized oppressed national minorities to the right to preserve our culture, our heritage, and what's going on in Arizona today.
Excuse me, nobody asked you about Arizona. Thank you very much for your testimony today. That's separate. We're talking about...
Let's allow the witness to speak, please.
Thank you. Thank you. What's going on in Arizona is another form of white supremacy. The teachers of the Tucson Unified School District created a program of Mexican-American studies that has proven to be a complete success. They changed the dropout, push-out rates at the schools in Arizona and the number of graduates from high schools that go on to college, and inverted it from the 90s negative numbers to positive numbers, 90% graduation rates. 90% of those graduates go on to college. Because it was such a successful program, H.R. 2281 was passed as a form of cultural genocide, and it was the only ethnic studies program in Arizona that was targeted by that law to make it illegal to teach Mexican American studies in Arizona. Now here in California and Los Angeles, we do not have K-12 Mexican American Chicano studies.
Because they should all be integrated into the educational system of the government of the United States that protects the interests and benefits of each and every one of you sitting in this courtroom. Thank you very much. No more questions of this witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
Again, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo guarantees us those rights. Thank you.
Order, please. Order in the court, gentlemen. All right, the defense may call their next witness. The people may call their next witness.
Yes, call Michael Novick. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And what qualifies you to testify against the United States government today?
I'm someone who's been involved in political organizations since my childhood. That's quite a few years now. I've been involved in many different struggles, including in defense of different political prisoners. Many people that I knew became political prisoners and are still, in some cases, locked up. Others were released and, in effect, recognized their political status, such as Garcia of the Puerto Rican independence movement, who was pardoned by the President of the United States. That's clear recognition of the political status of those prisoners.
Okay, and what would your definition of a political prisoner be?
A political prisoner is someone who was either targeted by the state because of their political activity, defending the community's interest and people's human rights, and therefore framed up or locked up for their political beliefs, or in some cases there are political prisoners who were arrested for other crimes and in the context of their imprisonment became politically aware. For example, George Jackson or Rochelle McGee and a number of other people, some of whom were assassinated, some of whom are still locked up.
And a prior witness mentioned the term prisoner of war. Do you have a definition of a prisoner of war?
I think a prisoner of war is someone who is engaged in a project of national defense and possibly either was accused of or actually engaged in military activity. The United States recognizes prisoners of war, except under the most recent administrations, including the current defendant. They've come up with fictional creations that have no basis in fact, such as captured combatants and other terminology to avoid the international status. But for example, the United States recognized Manuel Noriega as a prisoner of war when they invaded Panama and took him into custody. And there are many other prisoners of war in U.S. history.
Okay, and are there any political prisoners or prisoners of war of European descent in the United States?
Yes, there have been many people going back in history. Obviously, the case of John Brown. John Brown was someone who engaged in military action against the United States because he felt that under the system of slavery that there was no just basis for that government. He sought to arm the slaves. He attacked the U.S. federal armory